Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're looking at a legendary car, the Porsche 911 GT2. You know, the one from that Wikipedia article you saw?
Ah, yes. This one's a real classic.
It's a serious performance car.
Excellent.
So I'm excited to learn more about it. What exactly is the GT2? How does it fit in with like the rest of the 911 lineup?
Well, the GT2 is like the most hardcore 911 you can get. It's not just a faster version. It's built for the track.
So it's like the top of the line track-focused 911.
Exactly. It's got everything you need for pure driving thrills. Think like twin turbocharged engine, rear-wheel drive for, better weight distribution.
And a stripped-down interior, I bet.
Mm.
All about performance.
You got it. No compromises. Now, the GT2 has a pretty rich history. It's evolved over several generations, each one more hardcore than the last. We should probably start with the first one, right?
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning.
Okay, so the first GT2 was the 993 generation, built from 1993 to 1998. The interesting thing about this one is that it was actually created for a very specific reason.
Oh, what was that?
Homologation. They needed to build road-going versions to compete in the GT2 racing class.
So it was like born to race.
Exactly. And it was built in very limited numbers, only 57 road cars ever made.
Wow, that's pretty exclusive. And this early GT2 had another unique feature.
Right, this generation was air-cooled, unlike the later water-cooled 911.
Oh, that's right. Makes it even more special for collectors, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely. And don't forget the power. It had a 3.6-liter engine that produced 424 horsepower, which was later bumped up to 444.
Yeah, I mean, back in the mid-90s, that was a lot of power. So
Right.
the 993 GT2, it was a real game changer, huh?
Absolutely. It set the stage for what the GT2 would become. Now, after the 993 came the 996 generation from 2001 to 2005. This is where things started to shift a bit.
Oh, in what way?
Well, the 996 GT2 was still very much track-focused, but it also became a bit more refined, a bit more livable for everyday driving.
So they started to make it a bit more practical without sacrificing the performance, I guess?
Exactly. It still had a powerful engine, though. This one was based on the naturally aspirated 911 GT3's engine, but with twin turbochargers added.
So more power.
Yeah, quite a bit more. 456 horsepower, to be exact. Later, they increased it to 476.
Wow. Twin turbos. I imagine that could lead to some turbo lag.
Actually, that's one of the things that impressed people about this car. Car and Driver, the magazine, they specifically praised it for having almost no turbo lag.
Oh, impressive.
Yeah.
They really dialed in the performance on that one. What came next in the GT2 story?
Well, there was a short break, but then the GT2 returned with the 997 generation. That was from 2007 to 2012. And this one really cemented the GT2's status as a true performance icon.
Okay, I can see why it looks amazing. So what kind of performance are we talking about here?
It could do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.6 seconds and had a top speed of 204 miles per hour.
That's incredible. And it was the third Porsche to ever break the 200 mile per hour barrier. Pretty exclusive company. It really was. And in real-world tests, Motor Trend managed to hit 60 miles per hour in just 3.3 seconds and stopped from 60 in a mere 98 feet. Seriously impressive. Sounds like a true driver's car.
Oh, yeah. And Walter Röhrl, the famous Porsche test driver, he lapped the Nürburgring Nordschleife in a 997 GT2 in just over 7 minutes. 7 minutes and 32 seconds, to be exact.
Wow. That's moving. The Nürburgring is a serious track, So the 997 GT2, it was a complete package. Great looks, incredible performance.
Yeah.
And it could handle a track like a champ.
Yeah. They really nailed it with this one. But, there's always room for more, right?
I sense there's more to this story. You're going to tell me about an even more hardcore version.
You bet. They also released the 997 GT2 RS.
Okay, this is getting interesting. What made the RS so special?
Well, it was a limited edition. They only made 500 of them. And they made it even lighter, 154 pounds lighter than the standard GT2.
Wow, they really scripted it down.
Yep. And they cranked up the power to 612 horsepower, 0 to 62 in 3.5 seconds.
This is insane. They were really pushing the limits with this one.
Yeah, this was the ultimate 997 GT2, the one to have. Now, let's move on to the more modern era with the 9991 generation. That one ran from 2017 to 2019. This one's pretty special, too.
I can already tell. What makes this generation stand out?
Well, for one, it was unveiled at a video game conference, E3.
A Porsche at a gaming event. That's not something you see every day.
It was a bold move. But the real story was the car itself. This was the most powerful production 911 ever made.
I knew it. They must have really outdone themselves with this one. How much power are we talking?
A whopping 691 horsepower.
Seriously. That's just ridiculous. How did they achieve that?
It was a 3.8-liter twin turbocharged flat-six engine, a real masterpiece of engineering.
I bet. Did they make any other big changes to, handle all that power?
They did. The 991 GT2 RS was the first GT2 to feature a 7-speed PDK transmission. Previous generations were all manual.
Ah, so no more clutch pedal for this beast. That must have been a controversial decision.
It was, yeah. But the PDK, it stands for Porsche Doppelkupplung. It was chosen for its super fast shifts and its ability to handle all that torque.
Right. Makes sense. They needed a transmission that could keep up with that kind of power.
Mm.
So what else did they do to make this GT2 so special?
Well, they went all in on lightweight construction. They used a magnesium roof, carbon fiber parts, and a titanium exhaust system.
Titanium. They weren't messing around, so how much did it weigh?
It tipped the scales at just 3,241 pounds.
Wow, that's incredibly light for a car with that much power. So all that lightweighting must have made a big difference in terms of performance, right?
It did. And then there was also the WiSock package, which took it to another level.
The WiSock package. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Think even more weight reduction. They used even more exotic materials, including a titanium roll cage.
A titanium roll cage. That's crazy. What was the point of all this weight saving? What kind of results did it achieve?
Well, with the WiSock package, a Porsche test driver named Lars Kern, he lapped the Nürburgring in 6 minutes and 47.3 seconds. A new record.
That is mind-blowing. They really were pushing the boundaries of what's possible with this car.
They were. The 991 GT2 RS, it was a limited production run of only 1,000 units, making it an instant collector's item. And there's a great story about how Porsche actually restarted production just to replace 4 of these cars that were lost at sea.
Wait, what? They lost 4 of these incredibly rare cars at sea. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's a crazy story. They were being shipped on a cargo ship, the Grand America, which unfortunately sank.
Oh, no. So what did Porsche do?
Well, they were committed to delivering those cars to their customers, so they actually rebuilt them from scratch.
Wow, that's dedication. It's not just about the cars, it's about the customer experience too. But the story of the 991 GT2 RS doesn't end there, right? There's one more version we need to talk about.
You're right. There's the GT2 RS Club Sport, the most track-focused version of them all.
Ah. So they took an already incredible track car and made it even more extreme.
Exactly. It was designed purely for track use, no compromises.
Okay, I'm all ears. What makes a Club Sport so special?
Well, they managed to shave off even more weight, bringing it down to just 3,064 pounds.
How is that even possible? They practically gutted the car.
They did. They also added a massive carbon fiber rear wing like the one on the GT3R race car, and they gave it bigger front air intakes.
All about aerodynamics. This thing must have generated an insane amount of downforce. So the GT2 RS Club Sport, it's the ultimate expression of the GT2 philosophy.
Absolutely. A purebred track weapon. And they only made 200 of them, making it one of the most exclusive GT2s ever.
Wow, what a machine. So we've talked about the evolution of the GT2, from its beginnings as a homologation special to its current status as a track-focused monster. But it's important to remember that this car wasn't just built for the road, it was also built for the racetrack. It's got a rich motorsport history, right?
Absolutely. The GT2 has seen its fair share of racing action over the years. We should definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's start with the 993 GT2. You know, the one we were just talking about.
Yeah.
The one that was built for homologation.
Right.
Well, it actually had a pretty successful racing career. It competed in the BPR Global GT Series.
The BPR Global GT Series. Okay.
Yeah, and it won a bunch of races. In its first full season, it took home 7 class victories out of 11 rounds.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Oh, and it also won its class at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Twice.
No kidding.
Awesome.
Wow, that's like one of the biggest races in the world.
It is. So, you know, the 993 GT2, it really proved itself on the track. It wasn't just a homologation special. It was a real race car.
And they kept racing the GT2 after the 993 generation.
They did. Well, sort of. Porsche themselves didn't really have a factory racing program for later GT2s.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of private teams, they took the road cars and modified them for racing. They competed in various series.
So the GT2 was still out there on the track, even without official factory support.
Exactly. And they were still competitive. And then, of course, there's the 991 GT2 RS Club Sport, which we talked about earlier.
Right.
That one actually marked a revival of the GT2 class in modern motorsport.
Oh, that's cool. So the GT2 has, like, come full circle back to its racing roots.
In a way. Yeah. And it's really exciting to see. The GT2 class is super competitive.
I bet. You know, thinking about all this, the history of the GT2, it's more than just a car, right?
What do you mean?
I mean, it's kind of an icon. It represents something. It's like a symbol of Porsche's commitment to performance, you know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's definitely a halo car for Porsche.
Exactly. And it's also had a huge influence on like the whole car industry.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, think about it. The GT2 was always pushing the boundaries. Lightweight materials, aerodynamics, powerful engines.
Right, right.
A lot of those innovations, they like trickled down to other cars, not just Porsches, but other brands too.
So the GT2 was kind of a pioneer.
I think so, yeah. It set a new standard for performance cars.
That's interesting.
And it's not just about the technology. It's also about the philosophy, that no compromise approach to performance.
I see what you mean. So it's like the GT2 inspired other car makers to step up their game.
Yeah, I think so. It raised the bar for everyone.
It makes you wonder, like, what were some of the challenges they faced in developing this car? You know, creating something this extreme, this capable, it can't be easy.
Oh, I bet it wasn't. Like, how did they manage to, control all that power? Those twin turbo engines.
Yeah, and make it reliable, too.
Right, because these aren't just your average engines. We're talking about a ton of horsepower, a ton of torque.
Going through the rear wheels only?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for disaster if you don't get it right.
Well, they had to figure out a way to tame the beast, so to speak, and they did a pretty good job.
It's incredible what they were able to achieve.
It really is. I mean, think about the weight reduction. They used some pretty exotic materials to shave off every ounce they could.
Yeah, and all that light weighting. It wasn't just about, making the car faster in a straight line. It was about improving the handling, too, making it more agile, more responsive.
Exactly. And then there's the aerodynamics. All those wings and spoilers, they weren't just for show.
Right. I remember you mentioning the downforce.
Yeah, they were designed to keep the car planted to the road, especially at high speeds. It's amazing how much thought and engineering goes into every detail of a car like this.
It really is.
Yeah.
But, I'm sure there were some bumps in the road along the way.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, developing a car like this, it's a huge undertaking. There must have been moments when they thought, is this even possible?
I'm sure there were, but they persevered, and they achieved some pretty amazing things, breaking the 200-mile-per-hour barrier. That was a big one.
Yeah, and that Nürburgring lap time with the 991 GT2 RS and the Weissach package.
Oh, yeah. Talk about a statement. They showed everyone what the GT2 was capable of.
And that story about rebuilding the cars that were lost at sea, that's pretty incredible, too.
Yeah, it shows their commitment, not just to the cars, but to the people who buy them.
It's more than just a business, it's a passion.
That's a good way to put it.
So we've talked about the past, the present. But what about the future? What's next for the GT2?
That's a good question.
It's a tough one, too. Because the car industry is changing so rapidly, electrification is becoming more and more important.
Right. So where does that leave a car like the GT2?
Exactly. I mean, it's always been about pure, unadulterated performance, raw power.
So will they go hybrid? Will they go fully electric? Or will they stick with the classic formula?
It's hard to say. But I'm sure whatever they do, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, knowing Porsche, they'll find a way to push the boundaries even further.
But, there's something we haven't really talked about yet, something that's really important when it comes to a car like the GT2.
What's that? It's the feeling.
The feeling, yeah. The experience of driving a GT2. I mean, we've talked about the performance, the history, all that.
Yeah.
But, what's it actually like to get behind the wheel of one of these things?
It's something else, man. It's hard to describe. It's like raw, visceral.
You feel every little thing.
Yeah, and the sound is just incredible.
The flat six.
Oh yeah, the flat six, swimming at 8,000 RPM. It's addictive.
It's funny though because it's such a track-focused car.
Yeah.
You'd think it'd be too hardcore for the road.
Right.
But it's not. It's still a 911. It's still, it's still got that Porsche DNA.
You can drive it every day if you're brave enough. But then you take it to the track.
And it transforms.
It comes alive. It's it's in its element.
It's designed for that.
And it shows.
I think that's part of what makes the GT2 so special. It's that duality. It can be a comfortable, even luxurious daily driver.
Yeah.
But it's always got that edge. You always know there's a beast lurking under the hood.
Ready to be unleashed.
Exactly. And that's, I think that's what appeals to people. It's that sense of excitement, that potential.
It's a car that makes you feel alive.
Yeah. Makes you feel like like anything is possible.
And that's a pretty special thing.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for our deep dive into the Porsche 911 GT2.
Yeah, we covered a lot. From its racing history to its impact on the entire car industry.
And of course, what makes it so special to drive. That feeling, you know.
You can't really explain it. You got to experience it.
Exactly. So if you ever get the chance,
take it for a spin.
You won't regret it. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you on the next deep dive.